Good morning, good afternoon to all of you around the world watching here for the Buriram International Circuit Round 15 and 16 of the TCR International Series. And we are ready to go racing. Thank you so much for joining us, whether it be on television or online around the world. We're preparing to provide you with two 14-lap encounters, and they are looking forward to being really good entertainment. 4 rounds left in the championship, and we're getting down to the nitty-gritty to establish who will become the second series champion. Could it be Pepe Oriola? There he is. Cold towel around his neck, looking a bit nervous this morning, that's for sure. Oriola took the lead of the championship yesterday thanks to points for the pole position that he took, his first pole position of the year. And we have a healthy grid of 24 cars as 8 TCR Thailand entries join us. Oriola lines up alongside Morbidelli on the front row. Jean Calvinet and Stefano Camini, championship contender in 4th spot. Mato Homolo and James Nash both have mathematical chances of really getting back into the hunt this weekend. And then Borkovic and the first of our Thailand drivers, Kusari in 8th. Afanasiev and Grashov will start the second race on the front row. Tashi and Fulin in the Alfa Romeo, just one Alfa here this weekend. Kajaya and Jack Lemvard, a second of our TCR Thailand drivers, with Ed Iritapong in 15th and Galliana in 16th spot. And it continues. Andre Mies, German driver, although he is racing in TCR Thailand. Then Laxonen in the LMS Racing Seat that is racing in the German series with Antti Buri. And we also have the Subaru back here. Luigi Ferreira piloting that car, and he starts 19th as they continue to develop. The ever charismatic Stefano Camini will line up alongside his teammate, qualifying 3rd and 4th. Camini carries maximum success ballast after his strong weekend last time out in Sochi. Grashov carries 20 kilos, and then Jean Calvinet, Camini's teammate, carries 10 kilos of success ballast. Here is the entry list. We've already seen the grid. Let's point out some of the other drivers to watch out for from the TCR Thailand series. So Grant, Mies, Iritapong, otherwise known as Ed, Kasiri, who has done an amazing job to get himself into the top 12. And then Fulin and Ferreira representing Subaru and Alfa Romeo. Jack Lemvard, Munkong racing in the TCR International Series, although he's a Thai driver, for the Liqui Moly team Enxler Volkswagen, although he did not qualify with problems with that car. And now at the back of the entry list is Paratat Bourbon, who is our promoter. And in the 97 car is here to have a bit of fun too. Mato Homolo came into the weekend of Sochi last time out as championship contender and leader, I think, actually. He was right up there, but had a disastrous weekend in Sochi, and therefore fell back to 5th in the championship. Here are the points coming in after qualifying. Oriola back ahead of Camini. James Nash now 11 back. Then Jean Calvinet, Mato Homolo, and Gianni Morbidelli. And then a bit of a gap to those that we consider probably out of the championship hunt now. Afanasiev, Borkovic. Grashov with 3 wins, but no real consistency outside of those race 2 victories. Has a good chance here to pick up a 4th win, perhaps. Not so many people in the TCR International Series have had 4 wins in their career. Stefano Camini on 8, Oriola on 5, and Morbidelli on 4. There is Morbidelli, hoping to make it more wins. He's only had 1 victory so far in 2016. He had 3 last year. Time to focus then on round 15 of the championship at the Buriram International Circuit. A wonderful venue in the northern part of Thailand. 24 cars. This is the layout. 4.5 kilometers in length. 2 14-lap races for you. Very long, well, effectively back straight, but it's the second, after the second corner. 2 very, very long straights for slipstreaming opportunities. A big braking zone to the hairpin at the back of circuit. Turn 4, an interesting one, almost flat out for the cars. As they drift through there, it'll be difficult to follow. And this is the grid. Oriola, Morbidelli on the front row. Vernay, Kamini, all Volkswagen second row. Homela and Nash. Borkovic, and then the first of the TCR Thailand drivers, Kusari, the only man into the top 12. Afanasiev, Grashov, Tassi, Fulin, Kajaya, Jack Lemvard, Iritapong, and Galliana in 16th spot for West Coast Racing. Rafael Galliana making a return to the TCR International Series here. And then some of the TCR Thailand drivers a bit further back. We did see Cheng qualify. We didn't see Mung Kong because there was a problem with his Enxler Volkswagen, but the boys at Liquid Moly Team Enxler did a good job to get the guy out for the race. New sponsorship on the side of the Craft Bamboo Lukoil cars this weekend. A lot of work for Andrew Chisholm there, who had to rebuild James Nash's car after a sizable off on Friday afternoon when they had private testing here. And the boys worked until 5 AM to try and straighten up James's car as much as possible. Not a new shell. The roll car cage was undamaged, but certainly the shell is a little bit second-hand. Everything's pointing in the right direction, though. The wheel's pointing in the right direction. And James had the thought process to put the car backwards into the wall rather than forwards. One, to protect himself, but two, to minimize the damage to the engine, of course. And the car, he knows that it's quite weak at the front end. There'd be far more damage to do. So effectively, he only really damaged the right-hand corner of the car, and the barriers then spat him sideways, so the doors were damaged as well. But really, the main damage was the right-hand corner of the car that looks significantly shorter than it should have been. Either way, he's lining up 6th on the grid. The driver's points scrolling through below. We consider the first 6 drivers still in with a hunt of the championships. Sergei Afanasiev, however, that will start the second race on the front row of the grid, perhaps. So a chance to pick up some points. Having a look at the Romeo Ferrari's team. And they have one Alfa Romeo out because Michela Cerruti is not here this weekend with kidney stones. So I hope you're resting, Michela, but I'm sure you're probably awake and watching to see how Peter Fulling can get on in the lone Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Look forward to having Michela back in Singapore as the TCR International Series rolls into Formula One territory. In Singapore, in Malaysia, and then the final in Macau in November. So the heat really is on then. Haven't seen the weather conditions. There we go, as I was speaking. A bit cooler than yesterday. Track temperature a lot cooler, 10 degrees cooler than yesterday. Humidity is up. We've had some rain overnight, and therefore the curbs and the runoff area and certainly the grass is still holding quite a lot of water. The humidity in the air stopping that water from going anywhere. Circuit is dry, everyone's on slick tyres, but they need to be a bit careful about the runoff areas, certainly, and there is a threat of rain throughout the day. It seems to come very sporadically. Looking forward to a big thunderstorm tomorrow night. A light storm we had last night when we were celebrating. TCR International Series likes to put on a small event for all the drivers and the people who work in the championship at every event. And last night it was a cocktail party in the new mall that's being built just beside the circuit. The whole facility owned by the owner of the Cheng beer. And so Buriram United Football Stadium is just across the way. Big shopping mall and food court. And considering it's a very small village, really, Buriram, an amazing facility, a world-class facility that attracts the superbikes here and maybe even MotoGP next year. As for touring cars, though, TCR is the headline act. They do have the GT Asia Championship come and visit, and they have their Thai Super Series around the country. They race on street circuits as well as on this Grade 1 circuit, so Formula 1 could come here. Quite a fiddly little track for them. Last few rows of the grid getting into position. Tension rising in the garages. Preserve the car this race so that you can roll into the second race. Not much repair time between the two, but you need to score the points. Green flag being prepared then at the back of the 24-car field here in Thailand. Watch the lights, Formula 1 styly. When they go off, we are racing now. Who's got the better start? It's a slow start mid-pack there. Gianni Morbidelli's made a slow start. Looks like Oriola's made a great start. Nash has made a good start as well. Nash moves himself up into third position perhaps as he goes around the outside of one of the Leopard cars. Very busy in the middle pack with the Alfa Romeo and the Subaru running a little bit wide as they shoot themselves down to turn 3. Oriola's got a very healthy margin to Morbidelli. Then Nash in third position. Then it's the two Leopard cars going side by side. Vernet and Camini. I think that might be Camini up the inside of Vernet. Then a little bit of a gap to a few of the B3 racing cars. It's got a bit messy down at the hairpin as everyone's trying to break each other. It's Kusari who's moved up. So Kusari is up into, is that fifth position? Muscled his way past Homola. Borkovic made a good start to push up. Afanasiev just behind him. But let's see as they cut the beam at Sector 2 exactly what the order is. Quite see. It is Camini now ahead of Vernet and Kusari up to 6th spot. So Grashov, the big loser at the start there, he's gone backwards. Jack Lemvard seems to be perhaps missing. Yeah, we've got one car at the back of the field, I can tell you, limping round back to the pits. So considering we got all the cars through, they are all still running. I'm not quite sure whether Jack is going to get back to the pits though. Can't see the damage from that camera angle, but he's going very slowly. The leaders are heading up towards the start and finish line. Oriola crosses the beam, leading the first lap, and is that Sergei Afanasiev heading to the pits or just going very wide? No, a couple of drivers going very wide at the exit, and they're going 3 wide then down the straight. Afanasiev going to lose a position to Ed on the inside, and Attila Tassi's there as well. How do they all manage to fit through without contact? Grashov behind them, watching and waiting for the chaos to ensue, and now they go 3 wide further back. Afanasiev being shuffled down. And is that David Kajaya making up some positions? I think it may be. Still Iritapong on the inside, Tassi on the outside. And surely it's Iritapong's corner now. We're just going to ease him off onto the curb. Still leaves him a bit of room. He leaves him a lot of room. Needs to be a bit more aggressive than that. And they're still side by side. Tassi will now have the inside line. He's going to have to be brave here because it's a very fast left-hand turn. Still side by side. Tassi has the inside line. Afanasiev dives to the inside. And Iritapong gives him space, runs wide, and may even lose another spot to David Kajaya. He does. Great respected racing. Now Afanasiev off. Oh, and Kajaya, I think there was no intention there. Kajaya just came to the inside because Afanasiev was wide. A little bit of contact. Kajaya goes on the defensive of Afanasiev. This is all, by the way, for 11th position. So we're outside the points. A cracking action. Munkong's made a great start. So this is so Afanasiev goes wide. Kajaya cuts to the inside to avoid contact with Afanasiev. Finds that Iritapong's already there. reasonable stable in the front 5. Hommler looking to try and pass the TCR Thailand driver. It looks like it's settled down with the Alfa Romeo as well. So Fulin up to 9th spot, into the points from 12th on the grid. And there is Jack. Puncture, left front, bit of contact, no doubt, into the hairpin. Taken him a long time to get back, but it's preserved the car. Hardly any damage to the splitter and front quarter there. Lovely guy, Jack. We spoke to him last night at the cocktail party. Half Danish. I'm calling him Dutch. Completely wrong. Morbidelli at the moment looks faster than Oriola, doesn't he? Close that gap, close that advantage that he had. Oriola had an amazing start. The gap was well over a second, but now it's down to just 7/10. Stefano Camini is under investigation for an unsafe rejoin at turn 4, going wide at the flat-out turn 4, and has come back unsafely onto the track. Interesting one to see. To start. Oh, very bad start from Jean-Carl Venet. And Grashov almost stalled as well further back. Or was it Galliano? It was Grashov, wasn't it? The action happened down at turn 3 on the first lap. A bit of contact, lots of cars running wide. With Afanasiev and Kajaya settled down for the moment. Grashov well out of the points. Got Munkong behind him. Remember, Munkong started dead last in 24th position, so he's made up 9 spots. That's a great first couple of laps from the Team Enxler car. Didn't qualify, certainly needed to be further up, but he's making amends for that poor qualifying position, or lack of position, to 15th spot and behind Mikhail Grashov. Further ahead, here's Peter Fulin with a nice run on Mato Hommler. Being provided a double slipstream with Dusan Borkovic ahead of him. Fulin in 9th, Hommler in 8th, and Dusan Borkovic 7th. Nice and tidy through that fast turn 4 from the Alfa Romeo. The B3 cars looked a little less tidy. B3 seemingly much better at getting these tyres up to temperature in hotter conditions. They struggled in the European rounds that were a bit colder. Estoril, I seem to remember, really struggling to temperature in the tyres. They then are very good at 1 lap pace, so qualifying is always strong, but they do struggle to make the tyres last. Interesting to see how they get on with very different kinds of temperatures today. A bit colder than yesterday, as we said. It's a bit earlier in the day, the cloud hasn't quite burnt off yet. And of course we had rain and humidity. Still pretty sticky and horrible. And it will be really, really sticky and horrible inside these cars. In testing on the Friday, they were saying the temperature was getting up to 75 degrees inside the car. That is really uncomfortable. Fulin with a bit of a wiggle. Still thinking about trying to get past Mato Hommler. Should have a nice slipstream now down the back straight towards the hairpin. Hommler's slipped back from Borkovic just a little bit. You can see the bonnet of the Alfa Romeo flapping in the turbulence and the slipstream. Hommler goes on the defensive on the inside. The track is wide here, and it does invite you to dive down the inside. Fulin sort of thinking about it. Needs to be a little bit more decisive about his moves, although he has his nose chopped off. That's one of the main overtaking opportunities. The next one coming up, if you can get a nice run through turn 4, you can dive bomb into turn 5. Oh, he goes for the inside at turn 4. That's not advisable. Maybe that's put off Hommler. Hommler has a wiggle, 4 wheels off. You see Fulin being much more behaved. Wow, but then runs very wide, very deep, and that is a puncture. I don't know whether that's a puncture or whether that's simply a big mistake from... That's very strange. Hommler kind of just didn't turn in. Looked like he had a puncture, but couldn't see the tyre deflated. He is now going very slowly, I can tell you. Let's have a look again. Very odd. That tyre still looks inflated, but as he tried to slow himself down, he just did not retard at all, did he? And just ran deep. And now he's creeping back to the pits. I can tell you, no further action on the investigation into Kamini coming back onto the circuit. We didn't see it on the television screens, but of course race control have many other options available to them in terms of CCTV. And so the race continues. Oriola, Morbidelli, Nash, and then Kamini and Venet. That's your top 5, and there's a bit of a gap to Kusari. And there is Hommler coming back to the pits. Tyres are all inflated, so maybe he's got a brake problem. Disaster for his championship hopes, though. And he'll need to try to get that car fixed for the second race of the afternoon. Of course, he qualified in the top 10, so he has a nice starting position for the second race as well. And it's all kind of settled down as we're halfway through this 14-lap race. Gianni Morbidelli set the fastest lap of the race last lap, 24.5. Fractions, just fractions faster than Oriola. They were separated in qualifying by the smallest margin that our timing partner can actually mark. So 1,000th of a second separated the two drivers in qualifying. And in the race, the last lap they set, they were 5 thousandths separating the two of them, and James Nash matched them as well. So those top 3 all running sort of hundredths of a second. And bear in mind, okay, Nash and Oriola are in the same car, but that's a completely different car in second position. So here's Hommler. Oh, tyres definitely look inflated there. Tom, our cameraman, will be investigating. Look further back. John Calvinet would like a piece of Stefano Camini in 4th position. Got a good run out the last corner. Looks very, very fiery, but I wonder what the team orders are saying. Camini is right at the front of the championship. Venet is a good 20-odd points back. Both could easily win the championship. Venet wants to win the championship, but when overtaking your teammate, you need to be careful. Bit of a flash of the lights from Venet, kind of saying I'm coming through, but doesn't have the confidence to chuck it down the inside. It's weird, the racing line there, because this corner is such a... Oh, he runs wide. Camini runs wide, and I think that was a change of position. Look further back. Camini on the inside. He ran wide on the exit of the hairpin to invite Jean Calvinet to the outside line. They go side by side through turn 4. Venet's still there. Oh, and he's got the momentum around the outside, but now Stefano Camini has the inside line for 5. Great racing, respectful racing between the two of them. And maybe a little bit of an overlap. Please don't hit each other. Fabio Barro will not like that. On as even then. Oh, is that Morbidelli behind? Yes, Morbidelli's behind Nash. Change for second position. Nash has somehow passed Morbidelli, I think maybe into turn 5, as we were watching the 2 Leopard cars side by side. So now we have Oriola and Nash 1-2. James Nash was fastest in free practice. He was fastest in testing. He did not hook up qualifying, but he's kind of used to seeing that. All over the place here. Wonder what happened to Gianni Morbidelli. What I'm loving so far is we've had great side-by-side action, and nobody has made any contact, really. There's that tiny touch that we saw between David Kajaya. I can tell, yeah, so Fulin is up to 8th position. We saw that when Hommler went into pits. Love to know what the problem is with Matteo Hommler. Seems like a very strange accident for him. And if it is brakes, then that's could be quite a big change for him. The team can change and work on the car up to the checkered flag, and then park firmware regulations kick in, and they can't touch the car until repair time starts. So they'll be working on the car now, and then if they want to respect the grid position for race 2, they have to stop at the checkered flag and wait for repair time to begin. So there'll be frantic work going on right now, whatever the problem is with Hommler's car. A disaster in Sochi, slipped back in the championship from being right at the sharp end and representing B3 in a way that you'd expect Dusan Borkovic to have done. What's this we're seeing? Grant round the outside of Galliana, Paritat on the inside. Oh, dearie me, bouncing off each other. They're having great fun further back there. That would have been for 18th spot. There they are. Is this the replay? No, this is back to real life then. It's KP Leiksonen, who is in the colours of Antti Buri's car. That is actually Antti Buri's car. We've seen them racing this year in the TCR Germany series. Second in the points, that car with Antti. Antti is here and training KP Leiksonen. Leiksonen's only done one TCR round. He's done Porsches before, so rear-wheel drive, and not really up to speed as yet with the front-wheel drive. Gianni Morbidelli out of the slipstream of James Nash. I wonder whether he's suffering a little bit with under-bonnet temperature. Nico Grashov comes into the pits. Hondas have a very, very small engine bay, and the turbo can get very, very hot. And in temperatures like this, especially when the air is kind of thick, it's humid and wet, that should help a little bit. If the air is hot at the same time, it doesn't at all. So Grashov drops out. Oh, and Luigi Ferreira slowing down in the Subaru, letting 4 of the cars pass. That's a disappointment for the Subaru, who's running in 16th position. They've also done a lot on their cooling, because obviously traditionally the Subaru has a intercooler on the top of the engine, but of course all the engine temperature then goes into the intercooler and warms up the intercooler itself. So regardless of the air that's coming in, it doesn't actually cool very much. So they've moved the intercooler down to where the radiator would be, where the radiator would sit. And hopefully that has cured the overheating problems, specifically for the Asian market. I'm thinking about the hotter temperatures we're racing in Singapore and Malaysia and even Macau. Yeah, so Gianni Morbidelli out of the slipstream once again. And the other thing that happens is if the turbo starts to overheat, then the ECU will start to change the fuel air mix, and effectively that will slow you down. So Morbidelli wants as much air going through the radiators as possible as Ferreira parks the Subaru up, hopefully somewhere well off circuit. Yeah, he's on the very outside of turn 4. Kamini and Vinay, we saw the challenge a couple of laps ago. Hasn't changed since. Vinay hasn't been able to get close enough. But it was great to see them go side by side for a good few corners. And here is the Subaru. They're limping back to the pits, but for some bizarre reason, Ferreira decided to park it up at the exit of turn 4, kind of in the middle of the runoff area. Oriola, Nash, Morbidelli, your top 3. Again, I think a change happened at turn 5 where we did not, we were focusing on the battle between Kamini and Vinay, so we missed the passing move. James Nash snuck through past Gianni Morbidelli. Reminds me of Sochi. He managed to get past Jean-Carl Vinay without the cameras seeing either. Shout out to Kasari in 6th position. TCR Thailand driver, first in the TCR Thailand's classification, if you like, but he takes points for the international series and therefore takes points away from those drivers who are further back. And behind him, Kasari has been doing a little bit of racing in Europe this season. He's won pretty much everything that there is to win in Thailand, the Thai Super Series and various smaller classes in the Pro Racing Series as well. So went over and did single-seaters in the Euro Formula. But actually, we supported the Euro Formula in Estoril. And so he's been racing there last year and this year, but has come back to do the TCR Thailand. And we've got to say, he seems to be a cut above everybody else in that Honda. 6th position. We're looking at Ed, or Iritapong here, and he is the second of our TCR Thailand drivers in that Vitana Motorsport Honda. liquid molly sandwich there. Ed is one of the chief instructors here at the Thailand Buriram International Circuit. So whenever there is a track day, he's here to help out the locals and those that bring their cars here to have a rod around. We have actually a test, well, they call them test sessions, but basically we have a track day in support of this race. We also have the all-wheel drive championship. And they needed their all-wheel drive this morning when it was a bit slippery. But some amazing cars that you wouldn't really expect to see in northern Thailand, where there isn't really much going on, it's fair to say. So, Mikhail Grashov in the pits, looks like they're going to get him back out onto circuit. And we've got 2 laps remaining for Oriola to hang on and take his 6th win of the TCR International Series. It'll be his 4th win of the championship. Grashov going back out the circuit. That's important for race 2 because he has that front row start. It's he and Oriola who share 3 wins apiece. And Honda and Seat share 5 wins apiece in 2016. It's all rather spaced out through the top 6 now. John Carbonate's dropped a little bit further back of Stefano Camini. Oh, Kasari running a bit deep there, and he's gone very, very wide. I can tell you because you see out my window. But just behind Jean Carbonet here, Kasari making a big error. I think he's got away with it, actually. Thanks to the circuit having so much tarmac outside of the track limits, that if you do run deep, if you do run wide, you just kind of quite easy to get back on. Classic new circuit design. All of these blue areas, by the way, it's paint. It's not even any kind of absorbent or anything to slow the cars down. That is AstroTurf, that green bit. But for the superbikes, that's a lot of work. This is Mato Homola's car. There's a lot of work going on in suspension there. So I wonder whether he had a suspension failure there. It didn't look like they were doing brakes. It did look like they were working on the suspension of that car. Did we see him having a contact early on in the race? I can't remember. If it was very slight contact. But that seemingly is what's happened. They need to get that car fixed in the next 3 minutes, or at least stop working on it. Quick look at Mungkong. Quick look at Mungkong, who lies in 13th position. And we're hearing from the pit lane that the Subaru is still suffering with engine temperature problems, and that will be a real frustration for the team because they thought that moving that intercooler would help them. It's not as hot as it could be. Oh no! Peter Fullin badly into the wall. Where is that? That's down at, that's interesting, that is down at turn 3, exactly where James Nash went off, and he has just gone, he's had no retardation, and he's gone straight into the wall hard. Oh, no. The front end looks horribly crumpled in the Alpha. I'm not going to see that car out again. He was up, collecting points in 8th position, but now Peter Fullin is out of the race. It promotes Attila Tassi up to 8th spot, Sergei Afanasiev up to 9th, and Davide Kajaya will now pick up a point for 10th position as we go on to the last lap here. Oriola from Nash, from Morbidelli, who's certainly suffering with something. Engine temperature perhaps in that Honda. There's no reason for him to be so far away in terms of the ideal racing line down the back straight. He's looking for coolant. Look at that, one line. So the crash for Peter Fullin looks as though he was on the brakes. He had one wheel locked up, but the other wheel was still turning, and that could mean that the throttle was stuck open. and one wheel was driving, but the other wheel was kind of locked up with a differential. And you see, that's exactly what James Nash didn't want to do on Friday. Didn't want to go in head first. He wanted to go in at least sideways or backwards. Now, his crash, by the way, was attributed to the wheel still spinning on the rim. So as he braked, the wheel continued to turn, but the rim was stopped. And so basically the rim and the wheel were sliding on each other in the humid atmosphere with they were newly mounted, freshly mounted onto those rims, and perhaps the soap hadn't dried yet. So a real perfect storm with the temperature, with the low pressure as well in the tyre. Coming up then to the checkered flag. Pepe Oriola has scored 3 victories so far in the championship. He led the championship coming in, and he's done no harm at all to that. He takes maximum points from race 1, with James Nash making it a 1-2 for Craft Bamboo. Applause from the pit wall. Gianni Morbidelli in 3rd position. Great stuff, particularly for the mechanics that worked so hard on James Nash's car on Friday evening. No sleep, really. I think they went to bed at 5:30. It's probably quite normal for a mechanic. If they hadn't been in the garage, they'd have been out sampling the local delicacies around the Buriram circuit. Plenty of good beer. Congratulations all round for the Craft Bamboo Lukoil team. They 1-2, and they've got more excitement to come because Afanasio is on the front row of the grid for race 2. He finished 9th, by the way. So Oriola then takes the championship lead healthily, because Stefano Camini, finishing 4th position, will collect, if my maths are correct, 12 points less. And not a scratch on the car either, which is good news. Reliability, good. Now, Oriola's main objective this weekend was to score points in both races, because for the last 3 events, he's basically only scored in one or the other race. So the objective is to score in both, and he's at least scored maximum points in one of them. 4th win of the championship then for Pepe. The most successful driver in the championship this year, and it takes him to 6 wins overall in the TCR International Series, just 2 off Stefano Camini, who still leads the all-time list with 8. And that is Seat's 20th win in TCR International. 14 in 2015, and now 6 in 2016. And Pepe Oriola is the man to claim their 20th victory. Quite appropriate, really. Oriola's been a good stalwart to Seat over the years. There is a very, very sorry sight. The Alfa Romeo of Peter Fullin, hard in the wall. You will not see that car going out again today, that's for sure. And whether the guys will work on the car here or when it gets to Singapore, we've got a few weeks, but the cars basically get shipped around now from racetrack to racetrack. Thankfully, here in northern Thailand, you actually could drive the cars all the way down to the Singapore track and then back up to Malaysia. We're all kind of in the same area if you know your geography. A lot of work to do for Renault Ferraris. Into the Mini Parc Fermé then for Pepe Oriola. Ankle problems at the start of the weekend, but I think once he got into that car, he forgot about everything, like he did on the football pitch on Friday. Starred there and has starred here. Big hug for Andrew Chisholm, the team manager. And that is exactly what Pepe needed. Now what he needs to do is to reset his brain and get good points in the second race as well. Iritapong, 2nd for TCR Thailand, 11th overall. And he pulls into the pits, and Paratat beside him, our promoter this weekend. He finished in, where did he finish? In 18th position. Right then, let's get down to the pit lane and find out exactly how hard that was for Pepe Oriola He's talking to Mark James.
Pepe, congratulations. Pole position and the victory, just the result you wanted.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about the start because we know that the Hondas they have a better start than us. But I focused myself on the start. I made, I think, the best start of the year because I arrived to the first corner with 20 meters of advantage against Gianni, and then just managed to have my gap. I knew that I had fresh air and he hadn't, so he was getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And then we showed that he slowed it down. So really happy for my team because we did 1-2, and for my championship is the best way to win races.
Well done. See you later.
Thank you.
So here's a look at the results then. Oriola and Nash separated by just 1.2 in the end. Morbidelli in third position. He'll mount the podium later on. And then the two Volkswagens of Kamini and Vinay swapping from their grid positions. Kasari, the first of our TCR Thailand drivers, then Borkovic, Tassi, Afanasiev, and Kajaya picks up the last point in 10th. Second in TCR Thailand, Iritapong in 11th position, and then Alexander Mais picks up third in 13th position because Munkong is in the TCR International Series. Galeana 14th, and the rest of the finishers and those that retired, Lemvard, Hommler, Ferreira, and Grashov, and Peter Fullin as well. Actually, Grashov finished at the end, but he finished 3 laps down. He was on the circuit. So here's the championship points then. Oriola, Kamini, Nash. That stays the same. Nash has got a bit closer. And then Vinay and Morbidelli now up to 50 points behind. He overtakes Hommler, but it's a long, long, long way back from there. Hommler down to 51 back after not scoring. Afanasiev, Borkovic, Grashov, and Kajaya, kind of what we saw in the result. So join us in a few moments' time for the second race here in Thailand. It proves to be a cracker.